So as an example, if the Pac-12 were to have Oregon and Washington plucked from them, the Big 12 was able to take them over. What that typically means is that there literally is no deal. There's no hope. Everybody's abandoning ship. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit the red subscribe button. You'll not be disappointed. Also hit the like button too, and follow on Twitter. Twitter fam is growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So with the absolutely monumental news that came out just the other day, the fact that the Colorado Buffaloes are heading back to the Big 12, leaving the Big 12 to the Pac-12, 2010, come back. That's amazing that it's happening now. They had an announcement, everything like that. They're on their way back. So with that, we know that there's a lot of things that are happening from here. And again, for those of you who are out there who are like, oh, I'm not sure, there's still a chance, read this. So from Chris Vanini, and again, he's got this report here from to Callie Renison, chair of the Board of Regents, from Todd Salomon, the president, the Big 12 Conference admission, January 27, 2023, whereas the Big 12 Conference has offered admittance to the University of Colorado as part of conference expansion. The Big 12, they are getting Colorado back. They're rejoining the whole dang thing. So with the fact that they are returning, there's, again, I'm letting you know right now, and everybody knows about this before, when USC and UCLA announced they were going to the Big Ten, there's a ton of questions about the Pac-12. When Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were going to the SEC, there's tons of questions about the Big 12. So with both of those situations here, you're like, well, what are the following actions from here? So what we're going to do in this video is attempt to kind of address some of those things, what's going on, what each of the moves means, because remember here, more than likely, they're going to be adding one, maybe even three teams. Two is kind of a weird number. They won't really do that. But again, Brett McMurphy already listed out in this tweet. So here's Brett, and he says Big 12 will add between 1 and 3 schools to join Colorado in 2024, aka next season, less than 12 months from now, which is insane. Sources told Action Network HQ. League will seek first others from the Pac-12 to join. If none do so, the Big 12 would add one group of 5, UConn, Memphis, SDSU, or UNLV, to reach an even number of teams in 2024. There was a report previously that said they weren't interested in San Diego State. I have no idea what to make of that at this point. I do know that Colorado decided to go to the Big 12 versus the Pac-12. So San Diego State, who had been previously listed, now they, unlisted and then back being listed, are they like, we would rather go over there too? Again, whatever the situation is, they are potentially one of those teams they're going to add. So we're going to go through a couple of those things here. First of all, kind of like what kind of the rumors are out there. And again, there are zillions of rumors because up until we see a signed piece of paper, and again, I'm filming this the night before, so there could be something that happens in the middle of the night. I'll post this at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time as I do most of my videos. So we'll kind of, there's lots of stuff's happening here. But again, we're going to go through some of the reports out there. There's been a lot of reports that says it was the Four Corner schools at one point. And then it was going to be, Colorado and Arizona. Now we're getting many other reports out there to kind of go through these things. We see also Oregon State's been named. So from Expansion Crush, and again, he references here the Monty Show. The Monty Show is, I believe it's a BYU show. It does a really good job out there in that Salt Lake region, talking about the conference realignment and things like that. It says the Monty Show is saying Oregon State with Colorado. You're like, Oregon State? That's kind of a weird one there. But again, that's what Expansion Crush reference here from the Monty Show. But Jason Scheer says, kind of keep an eye on this whole situation. So Jason Scheer, and again, he is the head of Wildcat Authority, sees a lot of Arizona stuff. Arizona's been the second most mentioned team in conference realignment to go from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. He says, respectfully, Washington State and Oregon State aren't attractive enough for full Big 12 shares. Stanford and Cal don't even know they have athletic departments. Think elsewhere. And again, that's very important to go through that because you think about they have to add somebody in for a full Big 12 share. Whether or not they deserve it or not, I don't really know. I do know there was some rumors out there that the Big 12 wanted 2 teams. Again, Colorado's already one of them, as opposed to adding 4. They could potentially lose money in that situation. I wasn't able to confirm that elsewhere, but again, that was something that's been out there previously. So again, that's the reason why the Four Corner schools, there's kind of less and less momentum to getting all 4 of them. They already have 1. But again, that's that situation there. One really good video, and I'm going to include it in the description here, is, again, it comes from Stick'em 365 Sports. He says, from Max Olson of The Athletic, if Yormark can get one of the Pac-12 schools, more are soon to follow. He also had a couple other clips in here as well, because he wants to reference a couple things Brett McMurphy mentioned, and more things like that. So it is important to remember a couple things here. So right now, the Pac-12 to Big 12 targets, you have to look at you have to kind of read between the lines on certain things here, basically of what's going on behind, closed doors. If they get Colorado versus if they get Oregon State versus if they get Arizona versus if they get Stanford or, Washington or something like that, all of those kind of mean different things. So as an example, if the Pac-12 were to have Oregon and Washington plucked from them, the Big 12 was able to take them over. What that typically means is that there literally is no deal. There's no hope. Everybody's abandoning ship. Cal and Stanford are probably going to drop football. If that happens, it's going to drastically damage the league because it's just those are two of the premier members there. Again, they're the hottest tickets on the market would be Oregon and Washington. That's what that would mean if the Big 12 was able to pull them over. Then you go over to Oregon State and Washington State, and I heard this rumor here. So a lot of people, and again, it's a lot of Pac-12 fans that have a little bit of copium out there, are like, oh, yeah, well, you guys did all that just to get the worst team in our league. And you're thinking, okay, well, why would the worst team in the league leave your league for another league? What would be the situation there? And then you also hear the fact that Oregon State's being mentioned, Washington State not so much being mentioned. But here's the situation. What it means if Oregon State and Colorado both leave. Now, again, Oregon State actually had a pretty good year these last couple of years. Don't get me wrong, Oregon State, you guys had 10 wins. I saw you beat the crap out of Florida, and you beat my Boise State Broncos too. But typically, year in year, Oregon State's not a power. Washington State kind of the same situation there. What happens if the Big 12 was able to pull one of them? It means that there's a deal out there, there's something out there, but it's performance-based in some way. Could be views, could be wins. I don't know what the situation is there. But I think that if Oregon State and Washington State, who aren't as wanted of properties as Oregon and Washington, if they were to go over, it means that they're going for one in the hand versus two in the bush. Meaning, like, if they had a performance-based pay schedule and the top of the Pac-12 gets $40 million or $50 million, but the bottom gets like 10, maybe Oregon State and Washington State are like, you know what, screw your adjusted pay scale. We're going to go where we get 31.6 in the Big 12. That's what I'm thinking there. When you go talk about Arizona, if they were to go over what it means, it says they want stability. And again, that's the same situation with Colorado. They want stability. We've been there before. We're going over. If you look at a map, Tucson is actually pretty far east in Arizona, not too far from Lubbock. It wouldn't be an unrealistic plane ride. And again, these guys are making enough money to where that wouldn't be a big issue for them. But remember, what it would mean is that they want some stability. They also, on top of what they, the other, teams would be looking for, they see a unique opportunity with the Big 12, especially basketball related. You see the fact they were talking about Gonzaga, they were talking about UConn, add Arizona, a perennial power in the Pac-12. You add that to, Houston, you add that to Baylor, you add that to Oklahoma State, you add that to, all those teams out there that are really, really good. It would be one of those things where it would basically, Kansas would be some of the best basketball in the country for sure. Like, it wouldn't even be a debate. It would almost be head and shoulders. It would be like SEC status in college basketball for the Big 12. And whether or not, I've heard there's been rumors out there that the next, realignment negotiation, the Big 12 is going to almost separate their basketball out, whereas football will be on ESPN and Fox and stuff like that, whereas basketball will be on TBS and TNT sold as an exclusive package. I don't know the exact specifics of that, but I do know that Yormark is leaning into that more and more. You see Gonzaga, you see UConn, Arizona, very, very popular members to be added into the Big 12. When we're talking about Arizona State and Utah, these ones get a little bit weird here. So it says what this means. It says they want security latching onto their rivals in a new league. However, there is some issues with that in this instance here. Max Olson, not only did Max Olson say, and again, in that video out there, Max Olson said, I don't know if, Yormark can get many members from the Pac-12. He's not sure about that. But he says here, if they were to get Utah, they might not get a full share up front. Think about that. If you're a BYU fan, you are loving the fact that Utah would not get a full share, and you would after all that trash. Oh, well, we are Utah. We're in the Pac-12. Well, you're independent. If that were to be the situation, BYU fans would absolutely love that. But Arizona State, again, the four corners, it kind of mentioned the four corners less and less here, just because it's a situation where all four corners don't necessarily add value to the deal. Again, somebody would have to take a lesser deal. Arizona State and Utah taking lesser deals compared to their rivals in the conference, man, that would be crazy here. And then last but not least, of the Pac-12 to Big 12 targets, basically the last remaining teams, I've seen very little Cal and Stanford going on over. What it means, I have no idea what it means if they were to go over to the Big 12. I have no idea. I don't think it would happen. I don't really have any concepts about that. You guys get in the comments. You let me know what you would think about Cal and Stanford to the Big 12. I have no idea what to make of that. So think about this right here from the Big 12's perspective. What's their wish list right now? Because again, we could get something, could be this morning. We've heard there's some reports that we're going to have something announced today on Friday. Again, before end of week, that could be tomorrow, before end of night, midnight. I have no idea. But right now, what they really, really want. So they said previously they want 1 or 3 teams. What they really want is they want Arizona and then Oregon and Washington. They got a Northwest quadrant, or not quadrant, but duo out there, and then get Arizona, Colorado, and that would really solidify the league. That league would go from, they would have their 13, they would have 14, 15, and 16. It would be absolutely incredible for them. They would get the 2 biggest brands, Washington and Oregon, out there from the Pac-12, and then also get a Southern member. They would legitimately be in 4 time zones. It would be crazy. That's what they really, really want to have happen. Now, what most likely will happen, again, there's a lot of rumors out there. It looks like they are going to be making a move at Arizona. And remember here, Jason Scheer said that Arizona and the other schools are kind of waiting for somebody to make the move first. Remember here, the crazy thing about this is right now, we are less than 12 months away from all these current Pac-12 teams not having anybody to watch. There's no TV market. There's nothing happening here. So their exit fee is essentially 0 at this point. So if you're going to leave, you might as well do it right now. It's going to never been cheaper to do it. So Arizona could potentially come over. I have that about 70% chance of most likely to happen would be Arizona comes over. And then no other Pac-12 team comes over would be 30% chance if that's the most likely between those 2 scenarios. And again, that's between those 2 situations. I think that Arizona, Oregon, and Washington is a possibility, but we'll have to see with that whole situation here. Now, very important here. And again, Big 12 fans, I know you're high and mighty because you got Colorado. I know. Took them away from the Pac-12, who's been arrogant all that time. I get it. But let's just say, and because even McMurphy has this in his report there, that there's a possibility you don't get any other Pac-12 teams. The Pac-9 stays as it is, whatever the situation is there. You guys have to add somebody else to get to that 14 number. Who do you add? And again, what he had mentioned UConn, he had mentioned SDSU, he had mentioned, UNLV. He mentioned a couple of the teams like that, UConn. So Memphis is another team you mentioned there. So with that, you're thinking there, you're like, okay, so who should they add? I think a lot of people think they should add UConn. I've seen a ton of people who are like, UConn would be a terrible ad. UConn is kind of out there isolated by themselves. They are pretty far from a lot of members, but they're also pretty far from a lot of members in terms of the direction that they're at, way up there in the Northeast. Memphis, in my opinion, I know I've been pounding the table for Memphis. I said that this move by Colorado to the Big 12 hurt Memphis's chances to get in the Big 12. If they don't get any other Pac-12 teams, I would personally add Memphis over UConn. And again, I know UConn's got a national championship in basketball. I get that whole situation there. But the football program, the centralization of the whole league, the fact that you're kind of in the heart of SEC territory there, and if Memphis has a lot of good players, if you want to play in town, you got to be in the Big 12. I think that Memphis should be added number 1. UConn could be added for basketball reasons, and they could just live with the whole football situation. But again, that right there, the wish list of what they want, what will most likely happen, but what happens if they don't get any Pac-12 teams? 1, 2, 3. So those are the falling actions right now. We've got a couple things going on here. Okay, can they get Arizona? Can they get Washington and Oregon? If they get them, the Pac-12 has got, Stanford and Cal might just drop football, go independent for sports, something. I have no idea what the situation is there. But I do know we're going to have a lot of things happening here. And again, this is going to be posting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This little video I'm going to have right here, this little short. So with that, do we have news by then? I don't really know there, but I do know that, conference realignment is heating up even more. And this is going to cause ripple effects down into the American, down into the Mountain West. This is going to keep on going for a couple more months here. I'm telling you, keep looking out. All right, guys, get in the comments right here. Remember, let me know what you guys think because, there's so many things that are going to happen. There's rumors over here. It's Oregon State. It's Oregon. It's this. It's Arizona. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever happens, you guys let me know what your analysis of it is. But hey, anyways, please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.